leaving catastrophic damage and most residents in the dark.
It's so bad. Like all this stuff around.
The victims' plight and where the storm's headed. The migrant flights to Martha's Vineyard now the subject of a criminal investigation.
Somebody came from out of state, preyed upon these people, lured them with promises of a better life.
What could this mean for the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis? He used taxpayer money to pay for the charter jets. Team Trump meets with the special master over documents seized at Mar-a-Lago. The judges question that Trump lawyers say they don't want to answer. Russia now planning to declare parts of Ukraine Russia. Referendums announced for occupied territories. What the White House is saying as more bodies are uncovered in war zone mass graves. Dozens arrested after feds report a $250 million pandemic scam. Alex Jones makes his first appearance outside his latest Sandy Hook defamation trial. And do we have to tip for everything now? A rise in sexually transmitted diseases all across the country is out of control. That's according to the head of the National Coalition of STD Directors. And now health officials are calling for changes to prevent and treat efforts. This after a 26% rise in new syphilis cases last year. That's the highest rate in more than 2 decades. Gonorrhea and HIV also on the rise. The director of the CDC's Division of STD Prevention is now calling for reducing stigma, broadening screening and treatment services. That he also says he wants testing to become as easy and as affordable as at-home pregnancy tests. The House could vote on a bipartisan bill aimed at preventing another attempt to overturn a presidential election. Who's behind it, what it calls for, and whether it could pass. New questions about America's prison system. The shocking statistic alleged in a new Senate report about the number of deaths behind bars that never get reported. On the money. Ford stock took a huge hit today. The drop comes a day after the automaker pre-released parts of its third quarter earnings. In the report, Ford warned investors of $1 billion in unexpected supply chain costs. The result? Ford shares plummeted 12%. Worst day in more than 11 years. $7 billion in market value wiped out. Thursday night football already paying off for Amazon Prime. During its first exclusive regular season NFL stream, Amazon Prime Video attracted a record number of Prime signups during a 3-hour period. That's according to Amazon exec and a memo viewed by CNBC. Amazon has 14 more Thursday night games this season. The tech giant paying about $1 billion a year for the rights. And Peloton adding a rowing machine to its product lineup. They're calling it Peloton Row. And the starting price? $3,200. To access classes, you have to buy a prescription on top, like with other Peloton machines. Deliveries for Peloton Row expected to begin in December. Today at the pump, the average price nationwide for a gallon of gas, $3.67. The cost of gas down a few tenths of a cent overnight. It's now down 98 straight days. Still, a gallon costs 48 cents more than it did this time last year. On Wall Street, markets slide ahead of the Fed's expected rate hike tomorrow. The Dow down 313, the S&P down 44, NASDAQ down 110. Alex Jones lashing out at the judge in his Sandy Hook defamation trial.
This is a travesty of justice, and this judge is a tyrant.
Why the conspiracy theorist says he isn't getting a fair trial after he called the school massacre a hoax. The midterm elections now 7 weeks away. We break down the new polls from a key battleground state that could decide the balance of power in D.C. But first, Russia set to hold what the U.S. calls sham referendums in occupied Ukrainian territories. Voting scheduled to begin on Friday in 4 regions in the eastern and southern parts of Ukraine: Luhansk, Kherson, Donetsk, and Zaporizhia, where Europe's largest nuclear power plant is located. The referendums, including on Russia annexing those regions, all but certain to go Moscow's way. U.S. officials warn that the Kremlin will manipulate the results. Today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan slammed the idea.
The United States will never recognize Russia's claims to any purportedly annexed parts of Ukraine. These are not the actions of a confident country. These are not acts of strength. Quite the opposite.
Ukraine's foreign minister also denouncing the referendums. In a tweet today, he wrote in part, Russia's been and remains an aggressor, illegally occupying parts of Ukrainian land. Ukraine has every right to liberate its territories and will keep liberating them, whatever Russia has to say.